Good Sunday morning, everybody. There is no one this morning within the sound of my voice who does not owe a debt of gratitude to today's guest. When he last joined us, it was maybe 4 or 5 years. 5 years ago, that's when it was. And he was the founder of an organization called the Foundation for Taxpayer and Consumer Rights. The organization has changed itself, a little snappier kind of name. It's now called Consumer Watchdog. By any name, Harvey Rosenfield, the author of Proposition 103, would be just as inimitable and just as important to all of us. You know, I'm serious. Everybody who drives today, they owe it to you that they're not paying some gigantic astronomical premium for their auto insurance.
Well, thank you, Tony. I wish I could take all the credit for that, but the voters passed that law 20 years ago, and we've had a team of people at Consumer Watchdog now for all those years fighting it out with the insurance industry in the courts, in the legislature, to make sure it takes effect. So it's the praise and gratitude should be spread around.
All right, but nevertheless, we've got 20 years after the fact, after the vote, and you're still fighting. What's going on? What happened to we vote and it's done?
Well, I know people, and it can be pretty frustrating. And there have been times when I turned around and I thought, I can't believe that it's taken this long. For example, one of the most important provisions of Prop 103 requires the insurance companies to base your auto premium on your driving record, not your zip code. This just went into effect in full 1 week ago.
Exactly.
2008. Now, in one sense, that's a total outrage. And you know, people say to me, well, Harvey, what's the point of voting? My argument is we took on an industry, we being the voters of California, took on the industry, the insurance industry. They had unlimited money. They have spent hundreds of millions of dollars on lawyers. They've had their allies in Sacramento try to interfere with us. They've had the insurance commissioner try to interfere with us in past years. We've defeated the insurance industry time and again, and even in the courts. It took a long time, but here we are. It's going into effect. The good news is, if you're a good driver, your auto insurance premiums are going to go down. So I look at it as a success story. Other people would say this is an outrage. What happened to our democracy? And I get that. But the way that Prop 103 was written, it anticipated this kind of a battle, and so it sort of has it made it easy for people on our side, for consumers and taxpayers, to fight back and have a fair day in court when the insurance companies came in and went after us.
Can you give us some examples of some of the more frustrating ways in which the insurance companies tried to subvert the will of the people?
You know, the voters passed this thing after the insurance industry spent $80 million against it. That may still be a record here in California. And then what do? They turn around and they go back to Sacramento and try to get the legislature to overturn the law that the voters passed. I mean, we had to take this whole thing to the ballot box because the legislatures were too indentured to the insurance lobbyists. And then we turn around every few years, including right now. It's happening right now up in Sacramento. The insurance industry has a bill that would change Proposition 103 and allow insurance companies to put a little black box in your car that would report to them how fast you drive, how much you brake, how fast you accelerate, where you're driving. It's really an outrage. And what's worse is that they found a quote environmental group called Environmental Defense. And this organization claims it's for the environment. It's all over the country. And they have a history of collaborating with big corporations. They're responsible in part for electricity deregulation in California. But this environmental group, Environmental Defense, is giving the insurance industry cover in Sacramento. Now, this bill passes, it'll be an amendment to Prop 103. We then have to go to court, as we have done many times in the past, sue and get the courts to overturn the legislation because only the voters can change Prop 103 in that way. It's very frustrating for me. I hate going up to Sacramento. Some of my colleagues who are probably listening, Jamie, Doug, I'm sorry. These guys are the guys that go up there. It's such a corrupt environment, and that part is very frustrating for me.
But, you know, I think we all dream or we all imagine that the people that we elect to go to, whether it's Sacramento or Washington, are going to look out for us. They're not?
No, they're not. And, you know, we're seeing that right now. Insurance has always been an issue that people care about in California, but look what's happening now in the financial marketplace across the board. And this is all because of shenanigans and schemes on Wall Street, driven by the greed of big banks and investment houses that were completely without any regulation. There was absolutely no regulation of Wall Street, and that's why we're in this mess, and guess who ends up picking up the tab anyhow? The taxpayers.
Yeah, all of us. And as long as we're on this, you have any thoughts on what's happening with gasoline?
Well, it's an outrage, and if you go to our website, consumerwatchdog.org, you can see we've been fighting with the companies. We actually were able to stop one of the biggest oil companies, Shell, from closing down a refinery.
Well, that was the one here in California?
Yeah. They wanted to shut down, limit the supply of refinery capacity. That would have sent prices even higher. So it's a pretty simple battle. It's really something that has to be addressed at the federal level, and we're actually thinking about going to Washington, D.C. Next year to do something about that.
We could probably take up a collection here at the Fox Television Center for your tickets, first-class tickets. Okay. Look, let's get back to the insurance companies.
Sure.
Was there one of the companies or a few of the companies that were most notorious for their opposition to Prop 103?
Well, all of the companies opposed. I'll tell you one, for example, that we've had to go to court. We've gone to court against a number of companies because they've been surcharging people with hidden surcharges in violation of Proposition 103. If you're the average motorist, you get your insurance premium, you see it's gone up, but you don't know why. It's because they broke the law. We took these companies to court. We got one company to give back $20 million.
Which company is that?
That was the Auto Club. And there's another company, Safeco Insurance. They have fought Prop 103 since day one, and we're in court with them right now. We know that they have surcharged consumers. We've documents that establish it, and yet they're trying to get us thrown out of court. They don't want to face, a judge and jury on this. So that Safeco, I would say in particular, has resisted. I remember when Prop 103 passed, their president proclaimed that it would be easily thrown out in court. Of course, he's long gone. We're still here.
And wasn't Allstate one of the big...
Allstate's fought it pretty significantly. And the good news is for Allstate motorists and homeowners, we have managed to fight and win refunds of almost $1 billion just in the last 6 months. People who are Allstate customers, or people who go to Allstate or who renew, will find that Allstate's rates for home and auto insurance have been reduced by hundreds of dollars because of Proposition 103. Took us a couple of years. Insurance Commissioner Poizner, the current commissioner, has stood ground with us and made these companies pay back.
I can remember reading, and I think James Ford, who's the president of Consumer Watchdog, he was on a few years ago, and I remember him talking about Allstate. And I had been an Allstate customer for maybe 35 years. And as I'm listening to Jamie on the program, sitting where you are right now, and it suddenly dawned on me that each year I write out the premium check, and I look at my agent's desk, and he's got his kids there. And I don't mind the fact that my premium is putting his kids through school.
Right.
But what I did mind was that those premiums were going to fight the court battles to keep my rates high.
That's really an outrage, isn't it? I mean, but the good news is that we make under Prop 103, the insurance companies have to fund our work as lawyers when we go to court to fight the insurance companies. Now, sometimes I've been outside the courtroom, and one of these fancy insurance company lawyers will come up to me and say, "Hey, Harvey, I want to thank you." And I say, "For what?" "Well, you helped put my kids through school." I said, well, "Really? How do your kids feel about that?" But the bottom line is that with the right resources, we've pretty much defeated the insurance companies' lawyers in every battle.
And we should take a moment. How does Consumer Watchdog keep this battle going?
Donations from the public, principally.
That's it?
Well, we get some foundation grants.
Yeah.
But Consumer Watchdog is pretty much, it always has been from day one, a grassroots organization devoted to protecting consumers and taxpayers' interests. And of course, especially these days, it's really hard for people to dig another $50 out of their wallet and send it to us. But, our budget is minuscule, but in the last 5 years, Consumer Watchdog has saved California consumers $1 billion on auto and homeowner insurance rates.
Just in the last year?
Just in the last 5 years.
The last 5 years.
$1 billion.
That's amazing.
Since Proposition 103 passed, a study was issued a few weeks ago by the Consumer Federation of America. Since it passed, $62 billion in savings just on auto insurance because of Proposition 103. Billion. So it's been a great investment. It's right up there with some, like, for example, Prop 13. People talk about how that has saved homeowners a lot of money. Prop 103 has really worked.
And you don't think that we should sit here and salute you for what you...
No, 62 billion, but I feel like I'm the luckiest guy in the state.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to try and stretch that luck a little bit more. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll show you how you can get more information about Consumer Watchdog and maybe dig a little into the pocketbook and help the cause. Stay with us.